either the desired outcome or plan or result that you work so hard for doesn't happen. Things don't turn out the way you planned, or you get the goal, you have the result, but you don't have the feelings you thought you would have from it. Like you get this great job and then you're like, wait, where's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Where's the happiness? Or life just totally throws you an unexpected curveball. You lose a job, you get sick, someone dies, those kind of unexpected curveballs. So what I noticed about expectation hangovers is that they are similar to hangovers from alcohol in the sense that your head is hurting. All the thoughts and thinking and obsessing that happens when we have an expectation hangover. We just get really in our head. We lack motivation. There's a sense of regret. We're spinning and confusion. It's just a feeling we want to get over. And people really just want to get out of disappointment. And what I noticed is that most people use coping mechanisms that involve depression and numbing. Anything from drugs and alcohol to overworking, really super being busy, looking for the next best thing. And I'm really passionate about helping people leverage disappointment. When we talk about disappointment and change, those things are the catalysts that create the most personal growth inside of us. Most people have their biggest leaps when it comes to growth when something kind of surprising or bad happens. That's usually what motivates us to do the work that really changes our life. And I've noticed that the most suffering people have is when their expectations don't meet their reality. But there's a real healing opportunity inside of that. We have the double whammy of expectations, all the societal things and checklists that we buy into in terms of our belief system, and then this incredible pressure we put on ourselves. I noticed that people, especially really intelligent, successful people, they motivate themselves by being hard on themselves and placing massive expectations. And the tricky kind of sneaky thing about that is it works. And I'm not talking about being hard on yourself like you're a loser, you suck. Like it doesn't have to be that severe. It's subtle, like you could have done that better, or your friend's more successful, or why did you say that? Just these subtle things that are this critical voice inside of us. And it's effective. We get things done that way. But we have these massive expectations and standards that A, we may not live up to, and B, once we do live up to them, then we consistently keep raising the bar. And so when is enough enough? Like when are we there? When do we finally accept ourselves as enough? And that's the problem we run into when we live a life driven by expectations versus values and vision. Both complacency and overdoing come from a place of lack of self-love and insecurity and trying to compensate for something and not feeling enough in some way. We put these high driving standards on ourselves because on some level we don't feel like we are enough and we have something to prove. And on the opposite end of the coin, like when we get complacent and like we stop doing, then again, that's coming from a feeling of like not feeling enough or worthy enough of pursuing our own dreams. So at the root of this really is our relationship with ourselves and how we perceive the world and how we perceive ourselves in that world. So what it comes down to in terms of that middle point is really investigating, how do we define success? Like what's our definition of success? Is it externally based? Or do we have a definition that's more intrinsic? And the biggest thing from expectation hangover is that I've learned is that it reorientates people, myself included, from an outside in perspective to an inside out perspective. We're so destination obsessed in our world and getting there. And it's like actually what we truly, enjoy the most if we allow ourselves and stop putting so much pressure on ourselves is the process and what we learn about ourselves and the qualities that come out of us while we do things and the feel, because we think we're after form, but what we're really after is essence. We're chasing feeling more than we are outcome. But because we kind of don't know that, and because our society and even our educational system is so goal-based, we lose connection with that. How do you want to feel? Let's not worry about the form. The universe, God, whatever your spiritual belief system, it will take care of that. But if you really focus on the feeling of what you want to experience in life and get in energetic alignment with that feeling, then the form takes care of itself. To me, the process of awakening is really about looking at our programming. Because the great thing about our brain is it's totally malleable and we have the potential to change it. And to do that, we have to change our thoughts and we have to change our perception. And I love one of the definitions of a miracle is a change in perception. So even if you're in an expectation hangover right now, are you willing to bring a miracle mind to it by just changing how you look at it? We learn through contrast. That is totally how we learn. And I think that people try to avoid sort of the dark, the disappointment. And I'm all about leveraging it. And first thing is to move into acceptance of it rather than resisting it, rather than judging it, rather than trying to control it, rather than trying to change it. Accept what is. I love a quote from Byron Katie. I might be paraphrasing a bit, but it goes basically something like, when you argue with reality, you only lose 100% of the time. So acceptance is not about, oh, I love it and I have to, have this positive attitude about it. I'm not about that. But just going into, all right, this isn't ideal, but I'm going to stop fighting. I'm going to accept it. And then after acceptance, you move into really letting yourself heal and feel on the emotional level. People don't like to feel. They like to feel good. We like to avoid the feelings of shame, of anger, of hurt. And it's important to feel that emotion is energy in motion. So when we suppress emotion, it's like trying to keep a beach ball underwater. You can keep it down for a while, but eventually it pops up, and it might pop up in the forms of irritability or a health concern or like not being able to access your intuition or whatever it may be. Like that suppressed emotion is not good for us. Most of us don't know how to process our feelings. We tend to judge it, analyze it, want them to go away. And there's ways to release emotion where you find a place inside of you that's having the emotion, and you also find a place where you have compassion and you just allow yourself to feel without any judgment. I'm sure you've seen a child have a temper tantrum. And the thing is, children know how to feel. So if a kid gets upset, like you'll see they get upset, they start to cry, then they may be yelling, screaming, kicking. And then they kind of start to whimper and they kind of go into that, and then they start to slow down, and then they may rock a little bit and they start to soothe themselves, and then they want ice cream and then they're fine. They know how to ride the wave of emotions. And, I basically teach you how to have an adult version of a temper tantrum so that you get the emotion up and out. So compassion, if we look at the word, I'm all into the meanings of words. So passion actually means suffering, and co means with. So it's really being with suffering. It's the difference. And we can do this with other people too. It's like how we, in my work with people, when I work with them on the emotional level, if they're experiencing an emotion, I don't console them. I don't try to fix them. I don't go in and offer them advice. I just hold this loving, compassionate space for them to feel with no judgment. And learning how to do that for ourselves is key to really overcoming disappointment. How many times have we heard, oh, you're so strong? And being strong is overrated. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's authenticity. It's being real. It's like, this is really what's happening to me. And this is what, I'm willing to learn from it. So that doesn't work. And then another thing is too, the kind of like spiritual bypass and pep talk thing. Trying to get to whatever, I'm learning and I'm growing and it's all fine. And it's sort of like being strong with sort of like this positive attitude. And again, that gets rewarded as well. And the key to all this is just not allowing ourselves the authenticity of our experience and the truth to feel. And here's the thing, if we don't feel the anger, the shame, the guilt, whatever it is, we don't get to the other side of that. We don't feel all the juicy stuff. We don't feel the love, the joy, the creativity, the connection. So important for us to tap into that.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.